Okay, it's the mains.
Hey, the prep work for this has been unbelievable.
Danny has something when he immediately comes into my office, he just immediately starts yawning.
It's clockwork. Definitely when I'm sitting in this spot.
Every time.
Every time.
I was like, go get your chair then. If maybe it's my pink chair that makes
Do
you
some jumping jacks.
Yeah, I just made him do jumping jacks and some kickboxing moves, and you did some like quick breath work real quick.
Get through this next hour.
Immediately yawns after.
Yeah.
I'm like, what in the hell? Because for those watching on YouTube, I can't be having you just look at my husband yawning the whole time. Like, it's not a bore to be married to me, I swear.
It's a bore to be sitting in this specific chair, I guess.
You're I don't know, you're cursed.
It's all right.
You don't belong in
So if you
this
see me
office.
yawn, it's just apparently hereditary for this exact spot.
Or hear him yawn, or hear me giggle because he's yawning, or like punch him.
I'll just be like this the whole time.
No, then you look mysterious.
All right.
Anyways, we are here back again. The mains in action, live to your audio listening machine. Your listening device. I don't know. I'm giggling now. We are talking 5 lessons after 5 years of marriage, which we still have 2 more days. So
2 more days.
Hopefully we make it until then. A lot can happen in 48 hours.
Stop it.
Oh, I mean, a lot can happen in 48 hours.
I get that, but it's no.
Yeah. Guess I have no options in this marriage.
Nope, you're stuck with it.
Tip number 1, lesson number 1: don't give your wife any options.
Stop.
So we're talking things. Yeah, we've been married for 5 years. I feel like we've shared our story enough on the podcast that you know that we can give like a little nutshell version. We've known each other pretty much our entire lives. Never really had too much contact through the younger years, and then connected after college.
Yeah.
And then
early 20s.
Ever since then, it was 10 years ago. Yeah, early 20. I was 24.
I was 23.
Look at that. Yeah, we just had a decade together.
It'll be a decade together, and yeah, it was a decade together officially.
In like April/May.
April, May.
Depending who you ask.
Right. And then married for 5.
Yep. On, what's our wedding anniversary date?
June 9th. 6/9.
I don't know if we've ever told that story.
Yeah, we've brought it up.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, married on I don't know, when it was coming down to this, when we were picking Saturdays in June back in 2018, I was like, all right, it's June 9th or June 17th. And he's like, well, obviously the 9th. I'm like, why obviously? He's big because 6/9.
And I'll never forget it.
Literally, you'll never forget our wedding anniversary.
No.
A lot of spouses do forget that.
Yeah.
That's sad. I know all of our date anniversary, our sex anniversary, all the anniversaries.
Depending on who you ask.
Depending on who you ask. Yeah, we have different thoughts on when we actually started dating, but it's fine. I have time hop for proof, so it's fine. Everything's fine. Anyways, let's jump in these 5 lessons.
Let's do it.
Some of these might seem like duh, you guys, this is in a lesson of marriage, but we'll share some stories, along the way. I asked Danny when we were recording, like, do you got any stories that you're gonna share? He's like, not off the top of my head. He's like, they'll just come up.
They will.
Yeah, that's usually about as much planning that I do for a podcast as well. But today I have notes for us so that we stay on track.
No.
So, should I tell them all the lessons, or should we just go one by one? All right.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the first lesson that we have for you after 5 years of marriage is communication.
Hey.
See, I told you some of these are gonna be like, you're dumb. Your tips are dumb. But no, communication is so essential. It's so important that you are open and honest with your partner, especially when it comes to your needs and your feelings. We talk a lot about emotions on the podcast. And really around communication, this kind of like floats into what I came up with for number 2. But along the years, communication is something that I feel like we constantly are evolving with.
Oh yeah.
It's like, and also, would you say we go in like our ups and downs when it comes to communication?
Oh, for sure.
Like sometimes I feel, yeah, it's like we're in like these seasons, and I think one of our goals definitely is to get to a place where communication just comes easily. But I think for any relationship, any couple, these things arise, your issues arise, throughout life, and then you have those feelings inside of like, okay, when do I bring this to my partner? How do I bring this up to my partner? And it can just be a lot of pressure on somebody.
Oh yeah.
And then so if I'm the one bringing it, then for you to be able to hold that space and be the one that is then the listener, to not just go into problem solving, and either one of us, to not go into problem solving, to like really give each other what we need in that moment.
Yeah, not so much on just the like, what do I need to do here and now? It's like, what do I need to bring to the conversation that just needs to let the other person just talk and let themselves really give everything to you without any reciprocation.
Yeah. And we got some good communication tips on the couples retreat that we were at a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I really liked how Alexa shared with us in that training part, was when the person comes to you and when you say like, okay, I have this thing, you schedule the time, like when is it a good time for me to share this thing with you? So you're not just coming to your partner and you're just like
bombarding them.
Yeah, like just loading everything onto them.
Yeah.
When they're like trying to get a cup of coffee, or like trying to watch their TV show or whatever it is, or they're headed out for work. Timing is really important, because when it comes to communication, you want to make sure that both people are in the space of communicating and ready. So, and then I remember her saying, if it's me bringing these things to you, and then it's like you can just keep saying like, what else, is that everything, what else? Because oftentimes when we're sharing, we're just like scratching the surface. And I think this especially comes up for women. We kind of like, we hold on to the things, it's like, if we don't share right away, and maybe men do this too, and you can tell me if you think this is right, but it's like something will happen, then it's like I put it in my little bag, like I put it in my bag, and like I'm gonna bring this up later. Like this thing happened and now's not the time, so I put it in my bag, and then a couple hours go by, or another day, months, whatever goes by, another thing happens, I put it in my bag, like I'm storing it. And it's like I'm building this arsenal so that when then the time comes, we have this, then I'm like, it's like I have all this ammo to unleash on you.
Right.
And we want to avoid that.
I was gonna say, like, dropping bombs on one another is not recommended.
Yeah, we definitely want to avoid that. So, so that's when Lex was saying this, like, continuing to ask like, what else, like allowing that person to get everything off of their chest that needs to get off of their chest. And one of the, like, to hone in on this for us specifically, creating space around allowing for communication to happen, that comes in, we're going to talk about scheduling intimacy in this. Communication can be a form of intimacy. So for us on our Tuesday nights, like our No TV Tuesday, or whatever the day of the week that we've set aside for the two of us, we're having deeper conversations in that. Like if it's us sitting out on the porch, like in our front porch, or we're having a bath together, usually we don't have phones around, we're disconnected. And that's really when our deeper conversations come up, and we can share and really just get real with each other.
Yeah.
Another thing around communication, I think that we've learned with each other is, the two things. So we've really, I feel like, evolved in our love languages and understanding them better. Like you brought up earlier, the physical touch component and how much that has changed and evolved for us over the years. Because I always used to be a acts of service love language. And I feel like that really shifted with me when my business shifted, and not being in like hustle mindset culture anymore.
Right.
And then when then with you changing your job and like having you around more, that's where I think the shift happened for me to have physical touch like bumped up on my love language more.
Right.
So you've kind of always been physical touch.
Yeah.
But then I also realized, so when we did a recent couples masterclass together, at the end of it, you turned to me and you were like, you're so good at that. Like and just the genuine, like you've always been my supporter, but your genuineness behind that, it happened again when I did the Mother's Day meditation recently.
Mhm.
Like
I know what you're talking about.
you, like I could just feel your like proudness of me. And so that hones in on like the words of affirmation love language, which of course you give me words of affirmation all the time, but like those moments, those like I don't know, it's just like it's so different. It makes me want to like cry even thinking about it. And I remember telling my like sex coach friends and telling my friends like about those moments. Like I felt so loved by you and in those moments.
You're just so good.
Stupid. And so communicating too for us around intimacy things and doing things together, like the want will won't list and doing our erotic blueprints and things like that, that has been a big changer. And we've learned so many lessons about each other in the last 5 years of that. Like I feel like we didn't really even put it on here, like and maybe it's because it's not a lesson, but the main thing that has evolved so much, I think, over the last 5 years is our sex life and our connection with each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Which like intertwines in with the sex life.
Yeah. But just like along the lines of like the communication itself, definitely more open to what we both have to like say and do with each other during those moments, or like what we prefer. Being more vocal that way has been just easier overall, instead of just like, I don't know, instead of just having like that feeling where you're just kind of like, am I doing it right? Is this everything okay? Like having like that weird guilt type feeling. Like, is everything okay? Is everything feeling okay for you? But then instead it's just like just being more open and vocal with each other has just been able to open everything else and make it even better, like pleasurable. On just for that moment,
Yeah, definitely. And over the years we've had some like deep decision making conversations. Our choice to not have children, our choice to move back in 2020, choices to end friendships and set boundaries around friendships and family, like hard conversations. And I think one thing that we do well is, again, I don't think either of us is scared to come to each other to talk about the hard things or to bring up the hard things. I think we equally have that trust in each other that each of us can handle it.
Yeah, I do. I feel the same way.
Either. So that was a lot on communication. I only had a couple lines of notes on there, but we did that. All right, number 2 lesson that we have for you is that vulnerability is necessary. I think that this one really came up for us more in the last year, 2 years maybe.
Big time.
But this it allows you to build trust and intimacy with your partner. When you're vulnerable, you're truly sharing your authentic self with that person. You can deepen your emotional connection. You can help them and help yourself feel more understood, more supported. I think vulnerability gets such a bad rap at times. When we think vulnerability, I think especially for men, when you think a man being vulnerable, oftentimes there's that stereotype that if a man is being vulnerable, a man is being emotional, they are weak, or they're having a moment of weakness. And I think that is bullshit. I think that society has just shaped us to think that it has shaped that men are supposed to be this certain way, women are supposed to be this certain way. And so often more and more as the world is changing, it's like the roles are flipping. The men are being given this opportunity to be more emotional and to like feel their emotions more. And women, for so long, I think that we were taught to be independent, to be a little bit more of the masculine, and now it's switching to where women are given this space to be more in their feminine flow. And so when it comes to vulnerability, just being able again to realize that this is such an essential part of building a strong and a healthy marriage with one another. I don't think we need to go into too many personal stories here, but is there anything that comes up for you when you think vulnerability or times that we've been vulnerable?
I think like you kind of hit the nail on the head with just like one of the biggest vulnerability pieces was when we decided not to have children.
Mm-hmm.
That had a lot, like just like on us being vulnerable about like those choices and like what that would bring afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, really, there's not much else to dig really into that for me, but that was one of my big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like going on that decision and really just sticking to it.
Yeah, what comes up for me is and we shared this on our podcast around our experience at the couples retreat, but that the experience when the women were in the breathwork session, you guys were doing your crazy things in the other house. I can't, the dynamic meditation.
Oh yeah.
And we both had like that like the same realization, but in two different places at the same time. Yeah. And then coming together and having our date night later that night and being able to just share and be open and vulnerable with each other in that moment.
Yeah.
That is vulnerability. And for me to see that side of you, like you being open, you not holding back, and you just expressing what is present for you is such a, it's honestly such a turn on. Like I feel so much more deeply connected to you when we have those moments of vulnerability with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I just feel like I'm just sharing all my emotions all the time. There's no hiding of emotions or vulnerability over here.
Just here.
Just here. But it's like with all these things too, like I said, when I said around the communication, we're continuously adapting, we're continuously evolving with this stuff. I don't think we'll really ever get to a place where it's like, okay, we've made it. We are masters of communication, we're masters of vulnerability.
Right. That doesn't happen.
Things are always going to come up. And how Lexa and Jordan say is like the quicker you can get back to love. When conflict happens, when, overwhelm happens, when whatever happens, like to get back to love as quick as possible with your partner. Right. That is the goal. And that's where really where I feel like we can perfect the marriage, perfect the relationship is perfecting that piece of it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Okay. You want to say what number 3 is?
I can. Number 3 would be love is a choice.
Yes.
Now, so at first I asked you, I was like, what exactly do you mean by that?
What do you mean love is a choice?
Right. And
like I choose to love you every day. Every morning I wake up, I choose you.
That's what I thought, but then I'm like, where are you going with this? But then when you're like, I choose to love you, I was like, well, fine, I choose to love you too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, because love isn't just a feeling, it is that choice that you make every day. Yeah. To choose your person, to show up for your person, choosing to love and support your partner, even through the tough times, which we've had our fair share of tough times over the last couple of years. And I think that's essential. And to know and understand that love is a choice is, I think, important for people to hear. Mm-hmm. Which is why I put it on here. And one thing that I think that when it comes to love, and maybe a little bit more into self-love, but one thing that I love about us is how we embrace our inner children together. Like when we shoot hoops together, when we play catch together, when we play video games together, like those
Yeah.
things that we love to do as kids. Like even last night, like going to get Dairy Queen together, like that's something that we probably both love to do as kids. And like me eating my little ice cream cone, like that's ways that we love on our inner child more and more, and to be able to do those together.
Mhm.
And I think that it's so important for us specifically too, because we've chosen not to have kids.
Right.
And so we get to do those childlike things, or those things that we loved as a child. Like we still get to be kids even in our adult forms of each other,
Right. Absolutely.
you know, playing with the kids, like playing with our niece and nephew and going to see Minions when it's in the
Yeah.
movie, you know, like
Like all the animated movies,
yeah,
we get excuses.
yeah. But even so, like I think just you and I went to go see the Minions movie together,
Right.
the newest one. Some cartoon. There was some, I think it was Minions.
Oh,
It was just you and I. Yeah. We took the kids to see
right.
Scene 2 or 3
Scene
or whatever
2.
it was.
I know okay, yeah. I think it must have been Minions. The Rise of Gru or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was a baby Gru.
Yeah. For sure.
Love Minions. love Minions. And yeah, and then choosing to love yourself too. I think this kind of floats into this category as well as this lesson that love is a choice, choosing to love yourself every day just as much, if not more, than you're choosing to love your partner every single day. Because the more that you can pour into yourself, that flows into the people that are around you. And I know that I can love you a hell of a lot more when I equally love myself as
Right.
much, you know. I'm not over here trying to love you, but in my head I hate all of these things about myself.
Right.
Maybe hate was a strong word, but
You aren't 100% feeling comfortable about everything.
yeah.
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 I get that.
Insane. You know,
Same.
if you're not 100% in love with yourself and who you are, then that's going to make it harder to show up
Yeah.
and love me equally.
Yeah.
And for like a 3.5, we added in scheduling intimacy, to kind of like float this into the love is a choice. But this has been such a huge piece. We just did a masterclass on that. We've done many things,
Right.
talks around this. But it has helped us so much prioritize our relationship and really make sure that we're making the time for each other. So, you know, and I feel grateful for our schedules because we don't have many obligations where we're kind of being pulled into many places. We, for the most part, we both are in charge of making our own schedules at the time. So, but with that, it's like, what I found is that even when we have so much time, it's like, okay, well, there's always later, there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it just keeps
Always
getting
getting
push
pushed back.
So by scheduling this, what it says is that I'm making a conscious effort in my relationship and an effort towards my partner to connect with them, to connect with you. And this has really helped us maintain a stronger, more vibrant sex life. It's really helped us keep it fresh and not just having what is known as maintenance sex. You know, maintenance sex in relationships, that's great. You know, for a lot of people, they feel like they're just checking the box when it comes to having sex or being intimate with their partner, but it's really not the sex that we're looking for in our
Right.
relationship. And probably for the first 7 years of our relationship, that's what it was. That's what sex was. It wasn't until we started to do this deep inner work of exploring things like erotic blueprints and want will won't lists and BDSM tests and listening to podcasts and going on retreats and doing coaching and just making all these investments into our relationship that's really helped unlock and show us what is possible. So yeah, so scheduling.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you have to add on that?
It makes it better, makes it hotter. It just creates just such a better atmosphere for not just you, but your partner. Because then there's nothing really surrounding the whole bubble that you're trying to create. Or actually, sorry, you're just better enclosing yourselves in that bubble that's possibly just surrounded with madness. or just stuff that you just like don't want to deal with, or possibly just have to push that scheduling time,
Mm.
but then making that time and really just sinking in with each other has been just makes things so much better when you actually can be with each other.
Mhm. Yeah. And what I said in our most recent masterclass too is that I find when couples like say yes to this idea of scheduling intimacy, what it allows is for more of the spontaneous intimacy to happen. And I know that's what a lot of couples are wanting. They're wanting sex to just become natural, and they're wanting what you see in the movies, or maybe what it was like in the beginning of the relationship. But scientifically, how long-term relationships works is that it's not always going to stay like that. It at some point it's going to switch. At some point you're going to get comfortable. You're not going to be trying to impress. You're not trying to constantly win over that other person. And so that's when it kind of falls into maintenance sex, really.
Yeah.
So when you are prioritizing your scheduling intimacy, you're making sure that it is happening consistently, then if both of you are enjoying that experience, then that's only going to make you want it more and more and more. So maybe that turns into, scheduling intimacy more, but like I said, that can also turn into more spontaneous intimacy happening. So
Agreed.
you agree?
Yes.
All right, we got 4 and 5 left here.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them what 4 is?
Sure. Trust is vital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Being the foundation and really just strengthening up that relationship. And that way it's just, I mean, really at that point, like we're talking about maintenance and everything like that, but then at that point you're just with trust, it's if you have the trust, then you're already got everything built around you. You just got to keep everything tightened up.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it requires that the consistency of it, the consistency around honesty, and again, going back to the vulnerability piece, like trust is built with those things. Trust is built through communication, through intimacy, through vulnerability, and that's, I think for a lot of people, trust is a weird one for so many people. It's like when we got into a relationship together, we had both had previous partners.
Mhm.
Our most recent partners were people, there was infidelity in the relationships. And so when you have those things that have happened in your past and you're now getting into a new relationship, it's hard not to bring those things of the past into that relationship.
Yeah.
And for me to think, okay, here we go again, here this thing is going to happen again. And then same thing for you. And so I think that this will be my plug to kind of, if you're single right now, to do the work, like heal the patterns that need to be healed before getting into another relationship. That's where coaching can come into play. Hey, I'm Rachel, sex coach. Just plug that right there. I can help you through those things. But let's say if you're in a relationship, you haven't done those things, I want to tell you also that it's not too late to still do that work. Because that was me in the beginning of my work and getting into therapy again. Like we had been well into our relationship, into our marriage even, when I started therapy to kind of go through some of these things. And so it can be done when you're in a partnership. And when you have these other pieces that we went through, the communication, the vulnerability, like when you're willing to show up in those spaces with each other, that makes your healing all the more easy to know that you have your partner there to be your person, to be your anchor almost.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And you said this thing. Do you want to talk on that?
Oh. Oh yeah, I did say that. So really, I didn't even know you put it in there. I said being helpful, not hurtful. Now, like it does go back to the conversations and the communications and stuff like that. It's really what I mean by saying that it's being helpful is giving that person always like the positive reactions, but then not being, maybe not just like, don't be try to like positive all the time, but it's just being that person that's not going to turn around and just be a put down or like hurtful in a way where maybe there might be second guessing what they are trying to tell you, which in sense doesn't make it right.
Mhm.
I don't know the way that I thought maybe I'm just botching it with trying to say it out loud, but like I'm never putting you in a place where it's going to be hurtful for you. I want to be helpful.
Mhm.
So even if it's just you asking a question, I don't want to like make you feel stupid.
Mm.
I don't want to make you feel incompetent or incapable. I always want to make sure that you know that you have it in yourself to
Mhm.
do whatever you're asking, or maybe you are second guessing yourself on things,
Mhm.
like, and just help you out with that.
Yeah. No, I think you explained it good. And it goes for both sides, you know. I would say the same, like being for women to their men, like being helpful, not hurtful. So like same thing, not putting you down, not demasculating you, not making you feel like you're incapable of doing things. I think that that's a huge piece of it. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And what I added to that, I kind of put it before, but when it comes to the trust, like for me to trusting in you and your masculine and having the trust that you will hold the space, that you will keep me safe, that you will protect me, that you will get the things done that need to be done, or the things done that I'm asking of you. And for the vice versa, for you trusting in my femininity, like trusting in like women's intuition is what's coming up for me. Like when we're somewhere and I'm like, we gotta go, you know, and I can't give you a reason why or what's happening, but like in my gut, and I just know like there's something that's happening right now that like it's time to go. Or when I come to you with this thing, like, hey, do you want to do this couples retreat together? Do you want to do this couples coaching together? And just you trusting in my ideas and in those things, you know.
Yeah.
So trust runs deep, and trust is something that I think that in relationships we're constantly building, we're constantly proving really to our partners and to ourselves in some ways that we can be trusted, and that I can be trusted, that you can be trusted, that I can trust in you, you can trust in me.
Right.
You know, like consistently happening. All right, number 5, guys, that we have for you is keep growing together. Keep growing. Keep growing together. Marriage is definitely a journey, and it's important that you keep growing and that you keep evolving together. What can often happens is if one person is really into the personal development thing and they're evolving, and your person over here is just like, that's bullshit, what are you doing? This person is going to outgrow the other person. So I don't think that not ever, but I don't think that often you're both going to ever be on the same page. I think it's going to be like this give and take. You're going to have rises, you're going to have setbacks. Like with growth, of course, it's a fucking roller coaster when it comes to growth and healing. So I think that's important to remember. But again, that you're evolving together. I think both people in the relationship need to still have their own individuality. Guys need to have their guy friends, girls need to have their girlfriends. Guys need to have their dude activities, girls need to have their girly activities. Like whatever it is, you need to still have your own individuality in the relationship. Because
sorry, go ahead. I'll pop in after this.
Okay, I was just gonna say, when you have your own individual things, like that only helps strengthen your relationship together. And yeah, that was my tangent on there. So
sorry,
you can go
slow down the flow.
It's okay.
No, and I was just gonna add on, even with kids, even with, you know, you and your partner have kids and, you know, keeping a marriage strong, it's also having like that life with yourselves, with your partners, without the kids, really, because then everything tends to become so codependent on the two of you you know, staying in charge of the little ones.
Yeah,
And then you see so much of just, you know, marriages and everything kind of wither away because there is no connection anymore.
yeah.
It's just
there is-
co-parenting.
Yeah, there's no you,
No.
the two of you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no you, there's no we.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, kids.
and again, we're not parents, so we're not trying to go
No.
out here and give you some parenting advice
Absolutely
and teach you how to parent or anything like that. Just stating things that we have seen, we've witnessed.
And I'm sure everyone has to.
Yeah,
So it can't be just us.
yeah,
So
for sure.
for sure.
But yeah, when we say continue to grow together, you know, trying new things together, pursuing your shared goals, sitting down and talking about your goals, actually. If you go to rachelmaine.com, you go to the resources site and you download my relationship regroup. This is a great tool for couples to use, and goals is something that is on there for you to talk about. What are the things that you're working towards, both you individually and then both you together as a couple? And then again, like finding new ways to connect and deepen your bond with each other. That is growth, and not being afraid of the things that need to be healed, whether that's past relationships or even past things that have happened in this relationship, you know, bringing those things to the table, going back to the trust thing, trusting that whatever this thing is that you're bringing to me, like I have enough trust in our relationship and in our love that I know that we're going to get through this thing together.
Yep.
And so, you know, going again back to the vulnerabilities, all flow within each
It
other.
really does, yeah.
Yeah, so just so beautifully put, these 5 lessons that we have for people.
It's just a circle. It's all one circle.
There's one thing you can count on when Danny's on the podcast, it is that you will hear a movie quote.
Somewhere.
What was that from? Hangover?
No,
No?
no. You'll never get it.
Really? I feel
Yeah.
like whole entire life I thought it was
everything on.
The Hangover.
Mm-mm.
What is it?
It's from I Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry.
Oh,
Rob Schneider's.
I have seen that movie though, because of you. When he's marrying them.
Yeah. And they're
Yes.
talking about a ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a circle.
You're so stupid. In a good way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Lesson number 6, don't call your partner names like stupid.
Right. Jesus.
Just kidding. We love each other, I swear. All right.
We do.
We do.
Okay.
We do.
Yeah, that's right.
You know I can see you, right?
Yes, I know.
So happy anniversary to us. June 9th, 2018.
Yeah.
5 years strong.
5 years now.
High five.
Good job, man.
Thanks. Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Good game.
Appreciate that.
All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Make each other laugh. Have good sex.
Mm,
Talk about shit that you wouldn't want to talk about. Simple stuff.
yeah.
You know,
Show some tears.
show some tears.
Show
Sure, sure. Show some tears.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Feels good.
yeah, it is good.
All right. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. Of course, reach out if you have questions. If you love this podcast and you just love us, please share on your social media. Promote the podcast. The more people that we can get to listen to this, the better. So thank you so much as always. And until next time, what's next week's episode? Ooh,
Don't know. What
I
is
do
it?
know. Next week's episode is the cock worship one I was telling you about.
Well, how about it?
I know. I recorded this
Lucky
episode
day.
and I was like, went downstairs. I was like, now I want to worship your cock. Fuck.
Lucky day.
Because he's leaving. He's like, all right, let's go. I
See
was
ya.
like, no, this is a process. All right, guys. Next
Tune
week
in next time.
for some cock worship. Bye.
Bye.